Hi there, I'm Amy.CONNELL. Welcome to Graced Health, the podcast for women who want simple and grace-filled ways to take care of themselves and enjoy a little chocolate. I'm a certified personal trainer and nutrition coach who wants you to know your eating, movement, and body don't have to be perfect. You just need to be able to do what you are called to do. We are in part 5 of a series called B.COMPLETE. That's B.COMPLETE, which focuses on all the ways we want to take care of our body as we age. So far, we've covered balance, core, mini muscles, and pause. So if you have missed any of those, make sure you go back and listen. Now, I had grand intentions. We always think our future selves are going to be so much better and more productive than we are. So my future self, back when I was planning this in April, I thought, well, I can just get all of these planned and recorded ahead of time. The reality is I am flying by the seat of my pants, and I am doing all of my prepping and recording and editing and everything else, all the things like the week before these episodes come out, which I don't like to do. I like to do I bulk prep a lot of my episodes. So they're like done for the month, and then I can focus on other projects, and then I come back. But it's pretty intense when I do all that. Anyway, it's kind of ironic because I can't tell you how many conversations and actually even training I've recently had regarding flexibility. And no, just for the record, I am not initiating them. Okay. This is not me going around saying, well, you need to be more flexible and you need to be focusing on this stuff. No. This is people coming to me. Also, I am not the best at focusing on my own flexibility. I'm definitely working on it, but it always just seems to be pushed to the side or the back of something. And if I'm really trying to get as much done in a particular amount of time, because if you know me, I don't really like to be working out for more than 30 or 45 minutes max, then I push everything else. And then I just that's the first thing to go. We'll just call it that, like stretching, flexibility. That's the first thing that I'll be like, oh, I can do it another time. Do I do it another time? Not always. But the reality is, as much as I love sprints and HIIT workouts and strength training, I mean, I kind of like strength training. Right now, I'm kind of burnt out on it, but in general, I like it. I can't do any of these very well unless my muscles and ligaments and tendons and tissue are all pliable and they're all moving in the way that I want them to move. You know, as a doctor once told me and my husband, he said, the strongest muscles in the world aren't going to help you if you can't bend down and pick up your dropped car keys. Mic drop right there. Speaking of dropping things, I mean, that's so true. Today's B.COMPLETE focus is the LE, which B.COMPLETE is an acronym. So LE stands for lengthening. Okay, let's dig into what I mean by that. Like, what is lengthening? Because you're probably thinking, I just think about stretching and flexibility. Lengthening refers to creating elastic and responsive muscles, tendons, ligaments, and connective tissue. It's not just your muscles that you want to lengthen. It's all of those elements that work together to help you move. Now, throughout this episode, I'll be using lengthening and flexibility and stretching somewhat interchangeably, but just know that that's what lengthening means. It's creating that elastic and responsive element of all of those 4 things: muscles, tendons, ligaments, and connective tissue. So those are different. Lengthening, flexibility, stretching, those are all different, but the purpose of my show is to give you simple ways to take care of yourself. So I don't want to get hung up on the semantics. We're just going to go from there. Now, how does age affect all this? Because remember, with the B.COMPLETE series, I am focusing on all the things we want to focus on as we get older. In each episode, I'm giving you simple and actionable ways to do this. And then, of course, if you want more, you'll have the opportunity to purchase this online on-demand class called B.COMPLETE, where you can integrate all of the elements. And I'll tell you how to do that later. But I really am trying to give you very actionable things in each episode. So even if you don't get the program, which I hope you do, because it's really good and I'm proud of it, you still have some ways that you can integrate this. Now, with respect to aging and flexibility, it is no surprise to anyone that we lose flexibility as we age. If you need a reminder, head down to your nearest park and you will see children doing back walkovers and splits and climbing ropes and moving in ways that are more than likely like distant memories of your past. And you probably have said, oh, I used to be able to do that. Or, oh, I remember when. Or, oh, I thought I would be able to do this forever. And we can't. In fact, funny little side story. I remember being on a dance team with a girl who said, oh, I'll be able to do the splits forever. And maybe she can, but I would really love to see how flexible she is now. In fact, I used to be able to lay on the ground in this dance team and pull one leg over my head, keeping the other foot straight, and touch my toe to the ground. Like it was kind of like the reverse splits. I used to be able to do back handsprings. I used to be able to do said splits. I could do all kinds of different things. My drill team was literally called the high kickers. This is the dance team I was talking about. If I had tryouts for that today, I would be lucky to make the medium kicker drill team or dance team. Medium is as best as I can get. I feel like, as much as I move and despite knowing all the ways to stay supple and flexible, I don't always put that into place. Now, why is this? Why do we have less flexibility as we get older? Well, sadly, this is just the natural progression of things. And there's 5 reasons for this. One is muscular atrophy. Now, atrophy is the gradual decline in effectiveness or vigor. This is an official definition, by the way, due to underuse or neglect. One definition I saw called it wasting away. Which is just insulting. It's true, but also insulting. Anyway, muscular atrophy is definitely one of the reasons for our body to remain flexible. Another one is neural atrophy, which I'll get into here in just a second. Another is connective tissue hypertrophy, which is growing. I'll explain that here just in a little bit as well. Another is increased tissue stiffness. And then finally, tissue dehydration. Now, this is all varies from person to person, and you can delay or slow down the process, but it does still happen regardless. Our muscles do get weaker as we age. This is also called sarcopenia. This is just a normal progression of aging. And you may be wondering, okay, how does a reduction in your neural or your nervous system impact flexibility? Well, as we age, we may not move as much because maybe we are more tired. Maybe we feel a little more stiff. We just don't have as many reasons to get up and to get moving around. And this will contribute even more to that general decline in your motor control skills. Both your muscles and your connective tissues atrophies, but the connective tissue does so at a slower rate, which creates greater concentrations of your real fibrous connective tissues. So you have weaker muscles, and then you have larger tendons and ligaments. And just as a reminder, if it's been a hot minute since you've been in biology, tendons are those connective tissues that attach muscle to bone, and ligaments are muscle to muscle. And if you're like me and you need a way to remember this, I remember it because ligaments has an M in it, and that's muscle to muscle. That's the only way. I remember things very strange ways, and that's how I remember the difference of that. But anyway, when we're kind of out of balance with those muscle strength, and then the ligaments and the tendons are not decreasing at that same rate that the muscles, then it gets imbalance. And all of this really restricts your functional mobility, your ability to just move in the space that you're in a natural way. So again, do you want proof of that? Well, I'm not going to throw any more mature person under the bus, so let's just do it for me. Let's go back to my personal examples of what I used to be able to do and what I now cannot. I cannot do those splits. I cannot do those back handsprings. I can do a back bend after a lot of prepping before I do that, but that doesn't really count. I cannot kick high. Remember, medium kicks only. And then before we start to think about all the ways that we should have been moving better to prevent only medium kicks, please know this is a natural process. In fact, there was a really interesting research that was done about the water content in infant tendons versus adults. So infant tendons had a water content of 85%. Adults have that same water content at 70%. That's a pretty huge decrease. So all of this muscular and neural atrophy, this soft tissue dehydration, which soft tissues are your tendons, your ligaments, that kind of thing, and then other just physical changes related to aging. Those just impact our overall functional flexibility. And yes, I do want to acknowledge that we can certainly increase our flexibility and our lengthening as we age. Again, I'm working on this. I'm a huge fan of Athleta, and I love getting their, what are they, not magazines, but the pamphlets, whatever they're called. Partially because I think that they are so good at representing all bodies, all shapes, all sizes and colors. And also because sometimes they have like these more seasoned women, we'll say seasoned again, and they're doing some amazing things like the poses and the movements. I mean, it's really incredible what we can do when we are intentional and when we focus on things. So it's not impossible. It just takes more work, more intentionality, which is why we are talking about this today. Now, what happens when we lack that flexibility? So we're getting older, everything is just kind of degrading, and we're losing our flexibility. So what's the big deal? Well, when we can't move our body in this integrated way, meaning that everything works together, then things just kind of start to fall apart. We increase our chances of injury. We develop muscle imbalances, which can result in injury as well. Our joints don't move as well. And then our posture becomes disordered. I mean, we'll kind of start to bend over a little bit. We don't have that strength. We don't have that flexibility. And then all of this can lead us to not moving as much, which creates a snowball effect of being more immobile and less flexible. It's kind of like Newton's first law of motion and action, where it says an object at rest stays at rest, and an object in motion stays in motion with the same speed and in the same direction unless acted on by an unbalanced force. So when we talk about improving flexibility and lengthening these tissues, let's kind of stay on that Newton's law. We have to create that unbalanced force of staying at rest. How do we do that? Well, two things. First, keep moving. Just keep moving. Obviously, if you are under a doctor's orders to rest or to not move or lay still, listen to your doctor. I am not your doctor. They know you better. But gone are the days of recommending full, complete rest where you're laying on your back for several days if you have an injury, or not doing anything. In fact, rest can mean a lot of different things, and I talk about that some in No Rest for the Weary chapter in my book, Your Worthy Body. Rest can mean keep moving, but that doesn't mean like go run a marathon, but just keep moving gently, even if you're resting. Okay, so secondly, in terms of creating that unbalanced force and really resisting an object of staying at rest, we want to integrate some different types of stretching into your routine. Believe it or not, there are 4 main types. So I want to go through each of those 4 types, and so you can learn kind of what the intention is of each of them. The first is called self-myofascial release, also known as SMR, or foam rolling. So this involves moving your muscles along a dense roller to release dense muscle fibers or knots. This is particularly helpful for those really tight areas. It can help release those knots in your connective tissue and your muscles. It can also help your connective tissue. It can increase your hydration in that connective tissue, which is also known as fascia. If you have my book, Your Worthy Body, you actually have in that QR code a tutorial on some of the major areas that need foam rolling attention. So it's like how to do it in each of those areas, and I just run through it with you. So keep in mind that that is a good resource if you are interested in incorporating more of this self-myofascial release. Fascia is really an emerging field, and I'm super fascinated by it. In fact, if you have read my book, I don't talk about it a lot, but if you've read the acknowledgments, you'll see a little blurb in there to my husband and my boys about how I talk about it way too much. It's the one thing that I feel like is missing from my book. Like I said, I kind of give some drive-by comments about it, but I don't really get into it. But lucky me, I am super excited for in the fall season to have she's like an expert to the experts, and then also has some wonderful programs on your connective tissue. So make sure you tune in to that. Keep with me. Subscribe here if you haven't, because I want you to know more about, her name is Sue Hitzman with the MELT method, and I'm super excited to have this conversation with her. Anyway, but until then, know that your self-myofascial release can be used in conjunction with stretching to help warm up your muscles and to increase that range of motion. Next up is active stretching, which you're like, well, isn't all stretching active? Okay, stick with me here. So I have been working with a youth client lately to help his flexibility. And I ran through a few dynamic stretches, and I gave him a few other ones to do before and after his workouts based on what his body needed. And then I was working with him and his sister, and I introduced them to active stretching. So active stretching involves contracting one muscle while relaxing the opposing muscles, and then you're able to take that stretch further. So, for an example, lie on your back, and this is what I did with this client. You lie on your back with your straight legs. You elevate one leg as high as you are comfortable. And then this is best done with a partner. So I'm going to describe it like if you have a partner, but you can do it on your own as well. Have your partner grab your calf or hamstring and push it toward your chest while pressing your legs against your hands. Hold it a few seconds and then release. So what they're doing when they're pressing it in, you are creating resistance and you are pressing against their hand. In this scenario, what's going to happen is your quadricep, the muscles on the front of your legs, are going to really tighten up because that is what's pushing against their hand. And they're going to try and hold that leg in the same place. Again, you can do this on your own. I just find it to be more effective with a partner. Then you do that for a few seconds, you release, and then you can bring that leg just a little bit closer toward you. So do that about, 5 times or something like that. And you'll notice your leg slowly inching its way. So I will tell you what I told these siblings. If you're going to do this with a partner, the number one rule is trust. They have to trust you that you are saying, if you're the one being stretched, they have to trust you that that's as far as you can go. Because sometimes when you're the one pushing, it feels like it can go further, but you have to trust the person that they're communicating with you. And then probably more important is the partner who is pushing the leg forward. You have to trust them to listen to you, because when you say stop, like that's far enough, they've got to be able to listen to you. You have to trust your partner that they will honor you and your body. I mean, look, we're all grown-ups here. We can pretty much do this, but I just feel like I need to put this caveat down. Like if you're working with your kid and you're like, gosh, you feel like you could be able to go further, just don't. Just listen to them and you'll work into that. Now, I got to tell you, when I did this with with these siblings, I mean, they were like, whoa, I love doing this with new people because it's really pretty amazing, this active stretching. So that's what active stretching is. Next up is static stretching. Chances are when the word stretch comes to mind, this is what you envision. So this is like reaching down toward your toes and just holding it there. Or it's, if your feet are apart and you reach down to one side and holding it there, that is static stretching. Static means like not moving, right? So you take a muscle to that point of tension and then you hold it there. Static stretching is wonderful. And this is one of the most effective ways to increase your flexibility. However, you need to do this at the end of a workout. Don't do it at the beginning of the workout. Why? I'm glad you asked. Because when you hold that stretch for right now, the research is anywhere between 20 and 30 seconds. But when you hold it there for 20 or 30 seconds, then there is an element at the end of your muscle called the Golgi tendon organ. And basically, that Golgi tendon organ is there to keep your muscles safe and from lengthening further than they are able to. So after the 20 seconds or the 30 seconds, then your Golgi tendon organ's like, okay, we're safe. So it keeps your muscles from lengthening too far too fast, where you can get urgent or where you can get injured, where you can really, just hurt your muscle or rip your muscle or something like that. It is there to keep you safe. But what you don't want to do is tell your body that you are safe with those static stretches and then go press yourself too far. So save the static stretching until the end. Static stretching is great. Again, super effective. Just do it after a workout. It's a great thing to do as a cool down. So, and then the other thing too is current science tells us that static stretching may decrease your strength and your power. So again, one more reason why you want to do that after a workout. And the research with that is when it's done before a workout. So just hold those long stretches until after a workout. Static, after. Okay, so that's static. We talked about active. We talked about self-myofascial release. Now let's talk about dynamic or functional stretching. So these words are used, again, interchangeably. So dynamic stretching or functional stretching uses continual movement and momentum to move a joint through a full range of motion. For example, if you stand on one leg and then you take your other foot forward and back, kind of like a pendulum, this is dynamic stretching. With that one in particular, you want to start easy and then increase that range of motion, go a little higher, go to your medium kicks, maybe high if you can make a high kick. But for me, it's those medium kicks. But just do that slowly and slowly increase that as your muscles warm up. I've been back into track workouts, which is why I've been talking a lot about it in this episode. And when I do those track workouts, I'll walk the track once, I'll lightly run it, and then I'll do a bunch of walking lunges with a rotation. Again, that is functional or dynamic stretching. So dynamic stretching is what that is. If you're doing a workout and they're like, okay, start off with 10 squats. You're like, wait a minute, what? This is the beginning of the workout. Well, no, actually, you're just doing some basic squats. You're not going down too far, and you are functionally moving your body in the way that you are going to be working it in the workout in the next, 30 or 45 minutes or however long you're there. So it's warming up our muscles in a way that we're going to work it later. It's also moving your body and moving your muscles in a way that you are asking it to in a functional way in your normal life, which is why, based off of all the research that I have done to create this episode for you, the research that I found actually said if you're going to focus on one type of flexibility, functional is the most crucial. Even, believe it or not, even more than the static, more than the self-myofascial release, more than the active, because it uses the body's muscles to control the speed, the direction, and intensity. And again, we're integrating everything together. The other reason functional flexibility should be a focus is because it utilizes all of those tissues, that integration, your ligaments, your muscle fascia, your tendons, believe it or not, even your skin, which also decreases in elasticity as we age. Hello, crow's feet. I mean, I know you know. I know you know. In fact, okay, so I'm going to shoot off some percentages for you. The joint capsule and ligaments represent 47% of your joint stiffness. Your muscles fascia represents 41% of the joint stiffness. Tendons are 10% and skin is 2%. So you might be thinking, okay, well, how am I going to focus on the joint capsule and ligaments since that's the most? But actually, if you're focusing on flexibility, focus on that myofascial system, that muscular fascia. Again, you'll get a lot of that through the dynamic or the functional stretching, as well as that self-myofascial, foam rolling. So those are the ways that you can really increase your flexibility. Okay. Do you feel like you've been hit with a water hose? I kind of feel like I just shot a whole lot of water out at you. And if you're like, I just thought stretching was being able to touch my toes better, you're not alone. This is the, I don't know if we want to call it the litmus test, but it is surprising how many people, again, in these conversations that come up without me initiating it, but they're like, oh my gosh, I have such bad flexibility. Let me show you. And then they just take their hands down to they're like bending over, hands to the feet, but they can't get their hands to their feet because they have poor flexibility. So that is one element of flexibility, but it's not the only one. Now, I know I've gone through a lot of different types of flexibility here, a lot of information. You're like, just make it simple, Amy. Just make it simple. You're in luck. You're in luck. You know, I like to simplify things for you. So this is what I've done. I've put together a functional warm-up that you can do on your own. And this is a free bonus that I am sending out on Wednesday, July 20th to everyone who has signed up for the pre-sale to B.COMPLETE. Okay. So you go to gracedhealth.com/pre-sale, sign up there July 20th. I'm going to send you a 5-minute functional warm up. This is the way that I have, this morning, I'm actually sitting here in gym clothes at 3:38, by the way, still kind of sweaty, but this is what I did in the morning, or this is what I did before my workout, because I really wanted to be a full functional integrative warm up for my body before I asked it to do all the things that I was wanting to do. Now, if you're new here and you're like, what's B.COMPLETE? It is a 40-ish minute class covering all the things that we want to do as we get older. So that includes balance, again, the acronym balance, core, mini muscles, pause, lengthening, and then next week is transverse exercises. And you'll hear how transverse exercises actually helps the elasticity of your connective tissue. This class is offered at $20, and this is a good deal, you guys, because you can do it as many times as you want, when you want. All right. This is just an online on-demand thing, but you can receive pre-sale pricing by going to gracedhealth.com/pre-sale. That's GRACED health.com/PRESALE. Before July 19th, receive half off the $20 rate. You'll get this on-demand class for $10 to do as many times as you want. And of course, you'll get the functional warm-up as well as a bonus, but you have to sign up by July 19th because that email is going out on July 20th. So make sure you go over to gracedhealth.com/presale to sign up, and you will get all the things I just talked about. Okay, that is all for today. Go out there and have a graced day.